She cheated, then had the audacity to say, "Don't worry, it didn't mean anything." I replied, "Okay." Then I showed her just how much nothing meant by taking the non-refundable first-class tickets for our anniversary trip to Paris and giving them to my parents. I found out my girlfriend of 4 years, Sandra, cheated on me last night. I'm not going to get into the gritty details of how I found out. It involved a mutual friend who saw something and felt obligated to tell me, along with some undeniable proof that followed. The specifics don't really matter. The only thing that matters is that it happened. I confronted her when she got home. I laid out the facts calmly, without raising my voice. I watched her face go through the classic stages. First denial, then sputtering excuses, and finally, when she realized she was cornered, she broke down into tears. But they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration. The kind of tears someone sheds when they get caught. And then she said it. Through her fake sobs, she looked at me and delivered the most insulting line I have ever heard in my life. She said, "Look, I messed up, okay? But don't worry, it didn't mean anything." It didn't mean anything. The 4 years we had built together, the trust I had placed in her, the future we had been planning, all of it was supposed to be okay because her betrayal didn't mean anything. In that moment, something inside me didn't break. It became perfectly calm. It was a strange, cold clarity I had never felt before. All the hurt and anger was there, but it was deep below the surface. On top was just pure, simple logic. I looked at her, held her gaze until her crying subsided, and I said just one word, "Okay." She visibly relaxed, a wave of relief washing over her face. She actually thought that was it. She thought my saying okay meant we were moving on. She wiped her eyes and tried to give me a hug, but I stepped back. I just told her I needed some space to think and went into my home office and closed the door. She left me alone, thinking I was just processing it all. But I wasn't processing. I was planning. You see, our 5-year anniversary was in 3 weeks. Just last week, I had surprised her with the anniversary gift. A trip to Paris. Not just any trip. I had spent months arranging it. 10 days, first-class, non-refundable tickets. We were staying in a 5-star hotel with a view of the Eiffel Tower. I had dinner reservations at Michelin-star restaurants, private tours of museums, the works. I had spent nearly $20,000 on this trip, a trip designed to celebrate the milestone of our relationship. A relationship she had just confirmed was worthless. When I gave her the tickets, she was ecstatic. She cried real tears that time, went on for days about how it was her dream trip, how I was the most amazing man in the world. She immediately started planning her outfits, talking about all the photos she would take for her social media. The trip was, in her mind, a massive status symbol. Now, sitting in my office, I pulled up the travel documents on my computer. I looked at the names on the tickets. My name and hers. Then I thought about her words again. It didn't mean anything. Fine. If the action of her cheating meant nothing, then logically, the foundation of our relationship, the trust it was built on, also meant nothing. And if the relationship meant nothing, then the anniversary celebrating that relationship also meant nothing. And if the anniversary meant nothing, then the $20,000 trip to celebrate it. Well, you see where I'm going. It meant nothing. I picked up the phone and called the airline. I explained the situation calmly, that a guest could no longer make the trip and I needed to change the name on the second ticket. There was a $400 fee, a small price to pay for what I had in mind. I gave them all the required information. I had them change the name on the second ticket from Sandra to Joan. Joan is my mother's name. My parents are good people. They've been married for 35 years. A real partnership. They worked hard their whole lives to provide for my sister and me, and they never had the money to travel like this. Their 35th anniversary was coming up in 2 months. I hung up with the airline and immediately called my dad. I told him I had an early anniversary gift for them. I told them about the trip to Paris. My father was silent for a moment, then I heard my mother start to cry in the background. This time, they were real tears. Tears of pure, unadulterated joy. My dad got on the phone, his voice thick with emotion, and told me they couldn't possibly accept something so extravagant. I insisted. I told them that nothing would make me happier than for them to go. After a bit of back and forth, they gratefully accepted. After the call, I sat in my office for another hour. Sandra knocked on the door and asked if I wanted to talk. I told her not yet. A little while later, she slid a note under the door. It said, "I know you're mad, but we can get through this. I can't wait for Paris. It will fix everything. I love you." I read the note and felt nothing but that same cold calm. I knew the new travel documents, with the new names, were scheduled to be delivered by courier tomorrow afternoon. Sandra lives in my house. I own it. Her name isn't on the mortgage or any of the bills. She pays for groceries and some minor things, but the foundation she stands on is mine. She thinks the trip to Paris will fix everything. She's right, in a way. Just not for her. Update 1. It's been 2 days since my original post. The situation has escalated, just as I knew it would. The new travel packet arrived yesterday afternoon via a private courier. I had been waiting for it. I signed for the envelope and placed it squarely on the center of the coffee table in the living room. It was a thick, pristine white envelope with the travel agency's logo on it. I knew Sandra wouldn't be able to resist. I went into the kitchen to make a cup of coffee and waited. Sure enough, about 10 minutes later, she came out of the spare bedroom she'd been using as her giant closet. She saw the envelope, and her eyes lit up. "Oh, is that for the trip?" she asked, a hopeful, excited tremor in her voice. "I believe so," I said, keeping my tone perfectly neutral. She practically skipped over to the table, tore it open and pulled out the new itinerary and tickets. She unfolded the first page, her smile beaming. Then her face froze. Her smile vanished, replaced by a look of complete confusion. She read the document again, her finger tracing the words. "Mark? Who is Joan?" she asked, her voice small. I took a slow sip of my coffee. "That would be my mother," I replied. She stared at me, then back at the ticket, then back at me. The gears were turning, but they were grinding. She didn't get it yet. "Your mom? Why is her name on this? Is this for another trip? Did you book something for them?" "No," I said calmly. "That's your ticket. Or it used to be. I had the name changed. That's when the bomb went off." Her face went from confused to shocked to a deep, blotchy red of pure rage. "You did what? You changed the name? What do you mean you changed the name?" I leaned against the kitchen counter. "It's very simple, Sandra. Last night you told me that your cheating didn't mean anything. I took you at your word. If the betrayal meant nothing, then our relationship must mean nothing. And if our relationship means nothing, then our 5-year anniversary means nothing. So this trip, which was a very expensive celebration of that nothing, now also means nothing. I decided to give it to 2 people whose relationship does mean something. My parents are celebrating 35 years together. The trip will mean something to them. I have never seen a person's demeanor change so fast. The remorseful, crying girl from the other night was gone. In her place was a creature of pure, unfiltered fury. "You can't do that," she shrieked, the tickets trembling in her hand. "That's my trip. That's our trip. You bought that for me." "I bought it to celebrate a commitment you broke," I corrected her. "Since the commitment is gone, so is the celebration. The tickets are non-refundable, but the name change was easy enough." The crying started again, but this time there was no hint of sadness in it. It was the sound of pure, entitled rage. She stomped her foot like a child. "Change it back. Call them right now and change it back. I don't care what it costs, you change it back right now, Mark." Notice she wasn't apologizing for what she did. She wasn't begging for me to forgive her for cheating. All of her energy, all of her outrage, was focused on the loss of her luxury vacation. That confirmed everything I needed to know. "No," I said. The word was quiet, but final. "I will not be changing it back. And that's not all. You and I are finished. The trust is gone, Sandra. There's no coming back from this. I want you to pack your things. I want you out of my house." The screaming intensified. She called me every name in the book. She accused me of being cruel, of punishing her, of trying to ruin her life. All over a trip she felt entitled to, even after what she did. I let her scream until she was hoarse. When she finally wound down, I just repeated myself. "You have 24 hours to pack your belongings and leave. After that, I will be changing the locks." She realized I was serious. The anger was replaced by a wave of panic. "Leave? Go where? I live here." No, I said. You have been staying in my house. There's a difference. That arrangement is now over. You have a day. I suggest you start making calls. She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. Then she pulled out her phone and called her best friend, Jessica. Between sobs, she explained that I was kicking her out and stealing her trip to Paris. Of course, I'm sure she omitted the part about why this was all happening. Jessica arrived about an hour later. She swept into the house like a storm, put her arm around Sandra, and glared at me with pure venom. She didn't say a word to me. She just guided Sandra to the bedroom to start packing. I spent the rest of the evening in my office, listening to them dragging suitcases around and whispering angrily. The 24 hours are almost up. The real storm, I suspect, is just beginning. Update 2. It has been a week since Sandra moved out. The past 7 days have been an exercise in dealing with a level of entitlement I didn't think was possible. Sandra and her friend Jessica were out of the house by the next afternoon, just within the 24-hour deadline. As Jessica walked out the door, she paused and gave me a look. "You're going to regret this," she said, her voice low and threatening. "Sandra is a good person. You're throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you over one little mistake." I just closed the door behind her. The moment she was gone, I had a locksmith come over and change every single lock on the house. Best money I've ever spent. The silence that followed was peaceful, but I knew it wouldn't last. The smear campaign began almost immediately. Within 2 days, I started getting calls and texts from a few mutual acquaintances. The story they were hearing was a carefully crafted piece of fiction. Apparently, I had become paranoid and controlling, and when Sandra made a small, innocent mistake by having a drink with a friend, I flew into a jealous rage. The story concluded with me viciously kicking her out of our shared home and stealing the vacation she had helped pay for as a way to punish her. I was shocked by the audacity of the lies. Sandra had never contributed a single dollar to the house mortgage or the Paris trip. I calmly explained the real situation to 2 friends I trusted. I told them the truth about her cheating and her exact words. Thankfully, they knew my character and believed me instantly. They were disgusted with her. For everyone else, I just ignored the messages. I wasn't going to waste my time defending myself against her ridiculous narrative. Then came the financial demands. My number was blocked, so Sandra sent a long, rambling email. In it, she claimed that since we were together for 4 years, she was entitled to compensation. She demanded that I pay her $10,000, which she calculated as half the value of the Paris trip. Her reasoning was that her emotional investment and time spent building our life made her a co-owner of the vacation. She said if I refused to pay, she would take me to court. I almost laughed. I knew she had no legal leg to stand on, but the sheer nerve was astounding. The demands didn't stop there. A few days later, a new email arrived. This time she claimed that several expensive items in my house actually belonged to her. She listed a large, abstract painting that hangs in my living room, my high-end espresso machine, and even a set of custom bookshelves in my office. She claimed they were gifts to her, and that if I didn't arrange for her to pick them up, she would file a police report for theft. This was a calculated move designed to harass and intimidate me. But I am meticulous with my finances. I went into my records, and within 30 minutes, I had located the digital receipts for every single item she mentioned. The painting was purchased 2 years before I even met her. The espresso machine and bookshelves were bought with my credit card under my name. I replied to her email. My response was short and professional. I attached copies of the receipts for each item with the purchase dates and my name clearly visible. I wrote, "Sandra, per the attached documents, all items you listed are my sole property. There is nothing of yours left in this house. Please be aware that filing a false police report is a criminal offense. This will be my final communication with you on this matter." She didn't reply to that email. Her next move was to take the battle to social media. She began posting vague, passive-aggressive stories. Pictures of her looking sad with captions like, "Sometimes the people you love most betray you in the worst ways," and "Learning to stand on my own 2 feet again after having the rug pulled out from under me." It was a masterclass in playing the victim. She was trying to get a wave of sympathy, and I'm sure some of her followers gave it to her. Throughout all this, I spoke with my parents. I had to tell them the full story because I didn't want them to feel like their gift was tainted by all this drama. My mother was furious on my behalf, and my father was just quiet and supportive. I reassured them that the gift was genuine, that giving them this trip was a way for me to turn a truly negative situation into a profoundly positive one. I told them to go, to have the time of their lives, and to not give Sandra a second thought. Knowing they were going to experience that joy was the only thing that mattered to me. The harassment is annoying, but it's also clarifying. It shows me that her focus was never on our relationship. It was on the lifestyle and the benefits that came with it. She didn't lose a partner, she lost an asset, and she is furious about it. Final update. It has been 4 months since I wrote my last update. The dust has not only settled, it has been swept away, and my life is quieter and better than it has been in a long time. The first piece of satisfying news came about a month after my last post. My parents went to Paris. They stayed for 10 days and had the absolute time of their lives. My mom, who had never been out of the country before, sent me pictures every single day. Photos of them smiling broadly in front of the Louvre, holding champagne glasses on a dinner cruise down the Seine, and standing on top of the Eiffel Tower at night. My dad, a man of few words, sent me a simple text that said, "Son, you have given your mother and me a memory that will last the rest of our lives. Thank you." That text message alone was worth $20,000. I posted one single photo from their trip on my own social media, which I keep private. It was a picture of my mom and dad, arm in arm, looking at each other with so much love, with the sparkling Eiffel Tower behind them. My caption was simple: "So happy I could do this for them. Happy 35th anniversary, Mom and Dad." I knew the photo would find its way to Sandra, and it did. A friend who still has a distant connection to her circle told me what happened. Apparently, one of Sandra's friends saw the photo and showed it to her. According to the story, Sandra had a complete and total meltdown. It wasn't just about the trip anymore. It was seeing the undeniable proof of the happy, loving life that was continuing and even improving without her. It was seeing the very symbol of the luxury she felt she was owed being enjoyed by two people who had earned it through decades of loyalty. That visual representation of what she had thrown away was, I'm told, devastating for her. Her next move was one of pure desperation. About 2 weeks after my parents returned, I received a formal-looking letter in the mail. It was from a law office I had never heard of. The letter was full of legal-sounding nonsense, demanding compensation for Sandra's emotional distress and the unjust termination of a long-term domestic partnership. It claimed I owed her a significant sum of money for her non-financial contributions to our life together. It was a clear attempt to bully me into paying her to go away. I didn't even bother responding myself. I hired a proper lawyer, a sharp guy who specializes in these matters. He looked at the letter, chuckled, and drafted a response. His letter was a work of art. It was concise, professional, and brutal. It referenced her own admission of infidelity. It mentioned her baseless claims of theft and the receipts I had that proved my ownership of the property. It pointed out that she had no legal standing for any of her claims. The letter concluded by stating that any further contact from her or her attorney would be considered malicious harassment, and we would not hesitate to seek sanctions against them for filing a frivolous claim. We sent the letter. We never heard from her or her budget lawyer again. The final chapter of Sandra's story came to me, once again, through the grapevine. After leaving my house, she had been staying with her friend Jessica. But her welcome wore out quickly. Sandra apparently made no effort to find a job or look for her own apartment. She expected Jessica to support her, complaining constantly about how unfair her life was. After 2 months of this, Jessica got tired of it and told her to leave. With nowhere else to go, Sandra was forced to move back to her small hometown, into her old bedroom in her parents' house. The man she cheated with, as it turns out, was just a fling and wanted nothing to do with her drama once she was no longer attached to a comfortable lifestyle. She is, by all accounts, miserable. She lost the house, the trips, the lifestyle, and the man she took for granted. She tried to play a game, and she lost everything. As for me, I'm doing better than ever. The peace in my own home is something I'll never take for granted again. The whole experience cost me a lot of money, but it was a cheap price to pay for freedom from a person like that. I learned a valuable lesson about self-respect and the importance of having firm boundaries. I didn't set out for revenge. I simply chose to respect myself, and the consequences for her just naturally followed. She didn't value our relationship, so I gave the value to someone who did. Seeing the joy on my parents' faces was the best kind of victory. She chose nothing, and that's exactly what she was left with.